Hi, I'm Amaya Black and welcome to week 5 of Gideons 300. Wade asked me to do the intro this week and share with you guys just where I was spiritually this week and what God was doing in my life. And so I didn't actually really want to do that, but I felt like God was asking me to do that. So this week was kind of a difficult week, and I really don't have anything that I can point it back to. It was just kind of a spiritual warfare type of week. I was bombarded with, I would say, fear was the number one thing. And it's funny because I allowed one little lie to come and be planted in my mind, and from there it just rolled like a snowball. And soon I was bombarded, and we're going to actually watch a scene later on in the study. And it's a total picture of what was going on in my mind and in my heart with the lies that I allowed to come into my life this week. And it wasn't pretty. And I don't even know how much others gathered, because it was a pretty deep internal battle that was taking place. But it took me a while to get perspective, and then when I'd get perspective, I had to just hold on to it. And there was no feeling of peace. It was just a constant battle of perspective, and a lot of praying and a lot of surrendering and a lot of one step forward, two steps back type of week and process. And I had some things from out of my control kind of take place and kind of influence my life and influence my family. And none of it was really that big, but in my heart, it was really big. And that piled on the top of the lies that I was believing. It just made everything seem that much bigger and harder to deal with. So this week, today, I was really frustrated and really annoyed, and left church from a really good sermon with my family, and got in a fight with my husband and got mad. And that's really not the best way to leave church, but that seems like that's how it was today. And it seems like, it's funny, but it seems like the enemy can do that at different times after you leave church and you've heard a really good message, and then it's like he just attacks, and that's what it was. And so I had to go to a place today, and then I came home this afternoon and I was just exhausted. It's funny how spiritual warfare and losing spiritual warfare will exhaust you. And when you're believing lies and you're not walking in truth and believing the truth and allowing God's light to shine and penetrate your heart, how physically exhausting it is. And so Wade took the kids and they went and did some chores, and then I just spent time with Jesus. And I was in my word, and I was listening to praise and worship music, and I've got to say, there was no feeling. It was sheer desperation and obedience of needing to get into his word and needing to speak truth into my own heart and speak truth out loud and pray, because I knew I needed it. But never did the feeling of peace come. Actually, the feeling of peace didn't come until I sat right here in this seat to share with you guys my testimony, which is truth, because God says we'll overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the words of our testimony. So me sharing my testimony with you of how the enemy kicked my butt all week with the lies of fear is allowing me the truth that I did put in my heart. The Spirit is bringing it up and making that feeling change, which is very, very sweet. But I wanted to share with you guys some scriptures, because so many times we don't feel it. And going to God in prayer when we're in a dark place, or we're in a place of hurt or confusion or bitterness or unforgiveness or whatever it is, or of sin, the last place we want to go is to God and to prayer and to his word, because it does cut like a two-edged sword, and it penetrates, and it doesn't always feel good, but the end result is so sweet, and it's so liberating. And so I just I wanted to share with you guys Philippians 4, and I'm going to start at 4:5, which I think is a really interesting place to start, because it talks about how when you're praying, it's starting out with rejoicing, which is such, I think, a perfect place to start when you're in a place of not knowing where to start, when you know you need to spend time with God, when you know that you need heart surgery, when you know that you need him to do a work in you. I think the very best place to start is praise and thanksgiving and rejoicing. And so it says here, rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice. Let your gentleness be evident to all. The Lord is near. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your heart and your minds in Christ Jesus. Finally, brothers, and this is so key, because so much of this spiritual battle it's in our mind and it's in our heart, obviously, right? But what we think on eventually becomes what we believe. And so, finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Whatever you have learned or received or heard from me or seen in me, put into practice, and the God of peace will be with you. So that was Philippians 4, and I started at 4 all the way to 9. But I just wanted to share that because although the battle in my mind was full of fear, I had to think about things that were good and true and pure and right. It takes discipline. It takes being intentional of doing those acts that don't necessarily immediately bring the peace. The feeling. We can't go off our feelings. Our feelings are fickle, but God's truth and His word stands forever. And it is always true. It is something that we can always depend on. It's not shifting like the wind, the waves of the wind. It's steadfast. It's going to last the test of time. And so making yourself do that, being conscientious of what it is that you are allowing into your head, and focusing on that. And for me, I thought, okay, Lord, what are those things? And as we're nearing Christmas, it was so obvious to me. I just thought about Jesus, baby Jesus in a manger. And I was like, what is more pure? What is more precious than a baby? Nothing. Okay, well then think about that baby being God with flesh. He is God who came and put aside and lived as a man for us, for you and for me, and conquered death and conquered sin and conquered the fears that we are living. And it's like, oh, if I can't think of anything else more pure, if I can't think of anything that is good and righteous and admirable, I can always look at the face of Jesus and find that place and find that peace. And then a lot of times there may be an action that is required, but sometimes we don't know that until we come into a place of surrender. And this was the action. And it's just awesome to actually experience it as I'm talking to you, the heart change that He's doing in me from this week. So we will just jump right in and get going this week. Thanks.